I'm probably gonna sound rude, but I've noticed that when you ship yourself with Error Sans or Nightmare Sans, and there's nothing wrong with self-shipping, I do it too, you usually make a joke somewhere about them being abusive towards you and how it's hot, but it's not hot. You made an AU where Nightmare Sans kidnaps you and forces you to be in love with him. That's not healthy. And there are many ways that you could ship yourself with those two characters without making it abusive or toxic. I haven't seen or made content with any Sans AUs in a really long time, so my memory of these characters might be not so accurate, but from what I remember, Error Sans and Nightmare Sans don't abuse people. They're very powerful, but also considered to be one of the many evil Sanses that exist in the multiverse. I'm assuming this is the right word. But evil doesn't usually equal abusive. There are, in fact, evil characters that are abusive, for example, Junka and Nishima from Danganronpa. And then there are evil characters that don't abuse people, example, Ice King from Adventure Time. It's rude to see abusive ships and relationships as hot, or have a character that's abused see their abusers as sexy or beautiful. Many people that have been abused never see their abusers as amazing people. They despise their abusers, and do everything they can to get away from the people/person that have hurt them. Again, I know this most likely sounds rude, and I'm probably gonna get attacked by everyone reading this comment section, but you wanted us to mention bad, problematic stuff that you've done so that it can be discussed, and that's what I'm doing. Please know that I don't hate you. I actually think you're an amazing artist, and you're also one of my biggest inspirations. I hope you get a chance to read this, and have a good day/afternoon/night.
I admit, my infatuation with abuse isn't something that I should have been talking about on the internet. Abuse is a serious topic and shouldn't be made out to look cute or romantic. I was confusing abuse with angst, and I think that's why I felt so comfortable joking about it. As for the drawings of me in Error, those were coming from a much darker place in my head. At the time of drawing those, I was suffering from an intense form of daydream, which some would call maladaptive daydreaming. I prefer not to diagnose myself, but the description of maladaptive daydreaming seems closest to what I was experiencing. In these daydreams, Error would hurt me, and at some points when I had those daydreams, I would actually feel the pain, even though Error wasn't there. I was aware these experiences weren't real, but it still scared me, and thus I drew a bunch of vent art. I haven't had an experience like that since then, but I still daydream quite a lot. I'm fine though, I swear.
I really don't want to see you turn into another Birdie. You're still in the early stages of this. It can be prevented. You just have to let him go. Birdie's a bad influence and is dragging you down with him. If you keep sitting around and doing nothing about that, this will get worse. Just ditch him, and you'll start to recover. Not that ditching him is going to solve all your problems, but it will help a ton.
It sounds like you're more concerned with Birdie affecting my reputation than you are with him doing anything to hurt me, which is pretty valid. I know Birdie has done a lot of bad things, and I've never supported the things he's done. There's even screenshots that were used against me that showed me being very upset with Birdie wanting to dox Charlie at the time of that situation happening. I recognize when he makes terrible decisions. I never excused his behavior. That being said, I don't think he's an evil person. He's someone who has a lot to learn and tends to make poor decisions. I don't think it's fair to judge me for associating with certain people. Just because I'm friends with someone doesn't mean I agree with everything they do. I don't think I should have to defend him to my audience. He should be defending himself. His problems aren't for me to deal with.
This is less so of a complaint and more so of a concern, really. It seems like you romanticize abusive behavior. I remember a few years ago with the Seth situation. It became apparent because of the one comic where he elbows you in the throat so hard you choke/cough, and with Nightmare and Error Sans being super abusive in comics as well towards your persona. It's just something I've been a little worried about.
I understand your concern, and I want to let you know that I'm okay. I'm not in any danger, and I don't plan on putting myself in situations where I can be abused. Once again, my fixation on abuse came from a lack of understanding, and confusing abuse with angst. As for the Seth comic, yeah, that was odd. For those who don't know, Seth was my middle school bully, whom I had a crush on. I was very open about my feelings for him, both on DeviantArt and in real life. The reason he was portrayed that way in the comic was because that's how he acted back then. Seth never hit me, personally, but he was extremely violent and aggressive back in middle school. He punched other kids, he hit my friends, he didn't physically harm me in particular, but he still found other ways to hurt me, bullying and such. Now listen to me. Seth and I are actually still friends today. We talked recently about his weird behavior, and he told me at the time he was taking faulty mood stabilizers and suffered from Tourette's, not yet having a diagnosis back then. That doesn't excuse the things he's done to me and my friends, but I know personally that he's changed a lot, and I forgive him.
Please stop using the F slur. It's not funny, and honestly, it's disgusting that you use the F slur.
When I was younger, saying the F slur, I thought of iDubbbz. When Ian said the F slur, I thought it was funny. All the other slurs he said were funny too, but for some reason, the F slur was the only one I really felt comfortable saying. But also, it never felt like a real slur to me. It felt like a funnier insult than just calling someone gay. I'd never actually seen someone call someone the F slur in a malicious way, so I guess that's why I thought it was okay to say. I never intended to hurt anyone when using that word. It's a word I can't reclaim. I'm sorry to anyone who saw me saying the F slur and felt hurt or confused or even attacked. That's not what I was trying to do. I was just an edgelord trying to be funny.
It's Birdie. That's the reason. Birdie is legit doxing people and you're just letting it slide. I don't hate you. I don't think anyone in your community does. It's just your relationships.
I am not letting it slide. Please don't use my relationships with other people against me to say I support things that I don't. I was never okay with the things Birdie did. In fact, you can see from these screenshots that I openly complained about the doxing. I was too scared to call him out, but honestly, I wish I had, because it was really stupid. I'm sorry I sat by and let him do that when I should have at least talked to him about it. I could have done something, but I didn't, so it is partially my fault, and I'm sorry.
What bugs me is the fact that you called Snow Pearl a snowflake for wanting to use they-them pronouns. Maybe that was a joke, but I couldn't tell.
Okay, that was a joke, but I probably shouldn't have said it in the first place. I recently watched a response to my We Need to Talk video, and they actually spoke to Snow Pearl and brought up the full scale of the situation to my attention. Snow Pearl, or Winter Guts as I hear you're called now, if you're watching this, and I hope you are, I am so sorry for the comments I made in that video. I honestly had no idea that my fans were harassing you with my stupid jokes at the expense of your identity. I felt so guilty after finding this out that I ended up taking down the video. I am so sorry for putting you in that situation. I apologize on behalf of my friend too. I know she didn't mean to cause you any trouble. She was just following my lead. Please don't go after my friend for her comments. I haven't spoken to her in a very long time, but I'm positive that she doesn't think like that anymore.
If you're being legitimately serious about this, perhaps you should actually listen to the people who are warning you about you-know-who, rather than just going, but Jack is such a good boy. I don't care what you or others think. He is not a good boy. The fact that you think he is, despite all the stuff he's done, all the things that he's done to his exes, his friends, and other people, is just sort of really sad.
Hi, Gokato. I know a lot of people didn't agree with my friendship with Birdie. That's completely understandable. I'm not going to force anyone to tolerate him if they don't want to. Though I'm hoping you weren't mistaking my intentions with him for something bad, because I had absolutely zero bad intentions with his friendship. And so far, I have been completely safe. I don't want to be defined by my friendship with him. I'm still Cynthia, and he's Birdie. We are two different people. His bad actions should not reflect on me, because I do not support them. I'm not going to ignore the fact that he's done bad things. He's done bad. Like, a lot. But I think he's completely capable of changing. I appreciate the fact that you cared to warn me, but I assure you that I'm okay. Please don't worry about me.
The fact that you haven't apologized to Snow Pearl, now Winter Guts, for being transphobic in that review, just because someone uses they-them pronouns doesn't make them a damn snowflake, and saying, so what are you, and are you genderless or genderful, is extremely ignorant. Apologize to them. They got white knighted so hard it's toxic and just straight up horrible. I just want you to apologize to my partner. They've changed so much since then, and improved so much in their art.
It's true. I never got in touch with Winter Guts to apologize to them. That's why I'm hoping they see this video. I don't know any of their handles other than YouTube, and even then, going out of my way to try to find a way to contact them personally never worked. I honestly have no idea why. I've seen this happen before, with friends being able to find things and getting more results than me. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but I actually did try to reach out to them, but it just didn't work. Also, if you are their partner, I'm sorry for you two. I don't know how long you two have been dating for, but I know Winter Guts probably shared a lot of their pain with you. I'm sorry you had to deal with my awful behavior. I hope you both can forgive me.
Defending Alice's partner for saying the N-word, that's not okay. Alice's partner is racist, and seeing you defend them is gross. It's disgusting. Edit, this is not about Julian, this is about Cindy. I know they are trying to change, and I applaud them for that, but this is about Cindy defending them when they were saying racist garbage.
I wasn't really trying to defend their use of the N-word. I was making a joke. Albeit not a very funny joke. But I meant no harm. I never agreed with their use of the N-word. In fact, it occasionally made me really angry. I never thought it was funny. I thought they used it way too much. And it never added anything to their jokes. I just found it annoying and needlessly over the top. But I didn't want to say anything about it because at the time I didn't know their ethnicity. And I didn't want to get in a fight or seem oversensitive. I don't like arguing with people. and I didn't really feel like I had the right to confront them because I barely knew them back then. That probably doesn't make sense, but a lot of my feelings don't make sense. Nevertheless, I'm sorry to those who saw what I said and felt like the things Julian said didn't matter to me. I understand where you're coming from, but please know I really meant nothing by it.
I'm still a bit iffy on the drawing you made with Nightmare and your self-insert abusive husband, I think as you spelled it. You have a young fan base of Undertale fans, most in which look up to you as a practiced content creator. Pushing around the word abuse and making it sound cute is completely inappropriate. It not only downplays actual domestic abuse and toxic relationships as a joke, it can invalidate someone's trauma by almost fetishizing it, or even make some people stay in toxic relationships because they think that kind of treatment from their partner is normal. Abuse isn't something you should love about a partner. It should be a red flag to get away. Adding the ooh-woo accent to it is almost insulting from people who are actively in counseling to cope with the trauma partners have given to them. You shouldn't normalize it in your characters as something cute. Saying something along the lines of a character recovering from a toxic mindset and your self-insert helping them with their trauma to become a better individual sets a much better example to your fans and what to expect from a partner. That may have been small to a lot of people, but coming from an abusive background myself, I don't think that was talked about or explained enough. Hopefully this comment helps. Please stop romanticizing abusive partners. You don't know how serious the experience actually is, let alone the emotional mental baggage it brings. Don't downplay any type of abuse. Period.
As I've said earlier, I misused the word abuse. I do not think domestic abuse should be romanticized in any way. I was unaware of the severe connotations behind the word, thinking that it could be used interchangeably with jerk or bully. Using the word abuse was extremely inappropriate, and I will not use it again now that I understand the severity. I never intended to downplay abusive relationships, and I'm sorry to any fellow abuse victims who may have seen the abuse picture and felt like you were being mocked. I too know what real abuse looks like because I've come from an abusive background. I'm not going to go into detail because that's not the point of this video, but know that I do understand why you're upset with me, and I'm sorry.
To be honest, the main thing that just makes me angered is the whole thing with your ex-girlfriend. I feel like that was a terrible thing to do, and there was really no excuse for it, especially when you could have split it up sooner. I mean, the obsession with Birdie is just making many people, including myself, uncomfortable. I understand liking them, but to act in that way and ruin a relationship for them is just not normal behavior. I've been following you for a very long time, and this whole thing hurts me terribly. I know you're a kid, just like me, but when you have a following this big and want to keep it just gives you a lot of responsibility. I'm having hope that your actions will be improved on and accounted for. I do truly care for your well-being and health, so I do hope you feel better sooner than later. Please stay safe and drink water.
I have no excuses for the things I said to Harper. They didn't deserve to go through the things I did to them. I blamed them for things that were my fault. I kept them with me even after telling them I wasn't attracted to them anymore. And on top of that, I confided my sick fantasies to them and expected them to be okay with it. I wasn't aware of how much I was hurting them until it was too late. I was an idiot for blaming them. I was a coward for not breaking up with them sooner. I was selfish for holding my crush over their head. The 2 years they spent with me are 2 years they will never get back. And if I could take back the things I said, I would. I am so sorry.
The biggest problem I have is that whole abuse thing that you had going on with that error kidnaps Cindy and forces her to marry him AU. While you did apologize for it, the concept of your AU in itself seems to be romanticizing abusive relationships.
I've already discussed my misuse of the word abuse, but the concept of the nightmare AU didn't seem like a big deal to me at the time, mainly because of things like Bride of Discord, Sleeping Beauty. It's not a new concept. The story behind the AU is a little messy, but it's supposed to start off with Nightmare not really understanding the idea of love and marriage. He mostly wants to get married for status purposes, and I just happen to stumble into his castle. But over time, he builds a relationship with the small Cindy and puts in a lot of effort to be a better husband, and they all live happily ever after. I intended for the interactions between me and Nightmare to be menacing and uncomfortable, but again, I said abusive. I'm sorry I hadn't thought of better ways of explaining myself and resorted to using that word so many times.
Stop associating with Birdie. He's a toxic, vile, horrible individual. He can't be fixed, and he's not sorry for any of the things he's done. His actions have negatively affected you and others, and we can see it due to your posts about him, and how obsessed you are with him. Please keep away from him, Cindy.
Birdie is not at fault for my mental health. I don't appreciate the amount of people saying I shouldn't be friends with him. I'm completely capable of making that decision of my own. I admit, he's done some very questionable things, but Birdie has been nothing but kind to me since I became friends with him. He hasn't tried to hurt me once. He's been a good friend to me.
For me, it's about your relationship with Birdie. He's just being a drama magnet, and how he acts is affecting you, or at least seems to be.
I do not condone Birdie's bad behavior. I never have. His problems are not my problems. And making it sound like I think everything he's done is okay is absolutely wrong.
Honestly, I'm mostly worried of the screenshots that was shown of you hanging with Birdie and some of the things you said. I really do think you're a wonderful person, and those things were said in private, but the things said in there were pretty disturbing, and Birdie's behavior is absolutely disgusting, yet you continue to hang out with them, which is not good. Your followers and supporters are worried that this behavior will influence you, and we really do not need another Birdie in the community, especially from someone like you, who shows intense talent and artistic skill.
This comment doesn't bring up specific things I've said, but I do know I tend to say very strange things around my friends. Maybe even slightly offensive things. I'm forced to be vague, but I don't know what disturbing comments they're talking about. But I'm not going to deny that I've said disturbing things before. If I disturbed you, I am sorry. When I say things in private, I don't take into consideration that the things I say can be leaked to the public without me knowing, and I end up scaring people or even hurting their feelings. I apologize if I've done such things to you. Once again, for Birdie, I'm okay.
The indications you make with your OCs, kidnapping, abuse, and what seems to be rape or something like that. And your fanbase doesn't seem to be very knowledgeable about it either. I can safely say most of the people who are subscribed are probably like 12, and exposing them to stuff like that is not good. I'm sorry to hear that your friends leaked your DMs. That was very wrong of them.
I don't control who watches my videos. I make videos that I like and that I think people like me would enjoy. I don't have an age range for my audience. I don't really care who watches me, because it shouldn't be my job to babysit the kids who are too young to have a YouTube account. Also, I'm gonna bring this up again toward the end of the video, but I'm not advocating rape, abuse, or kidnapping. I do not condone those things. I do not intend to romanticize them. I am simply telling a story that features abuse and kidnapping. Rape was actually never part of my story between Taffy and Heath. But more on that later.
From what I've seen, some are mad about you interacting with Birdie and having a crush on him, and other stuff surrounding that.
Yep, that happened. I'm not going to apologize for having a crush on Birdie, but I do regret the things I did and said while I was still in a relationship with Harper. I regret it immensely.
Hello, I'm not too sure how to start off this comment, so I'll just get straight into my quote-unquote complaint. Could you please in your next video address the leaked DMs between you and your friends? I completely understand how having two of your closest friends leak your private messages to ranters could hurt, but I'm sure they had good intentions in mind while doing it. They and all of your fans just want some sort of explanation as to why you'd want to associate with someone like Birdie, especially when there's clear evidence of him still doing not so great things in 2021.
I really doubt they had good intentions when leaking my DMs. And if they try using that as an excuse, I'm going to lose my mind. I can tell from the screenshots of Harper talking about me that she didn't have good intentions. I don't buy that for a second. There were many other ways they could have gone about being concerned that didn't involve airing my dark thoughts to the public. As for the other friend, who I'll just call B, because I don't know if the name I call them is what they still go by, I don't feel like B ever really cared about me enough to have good intentions. Some of the screenshots they took, I can tell were taken in calls back when I was still friends with them. To me, it feels like they planned to use these things against me throughout our friendship. They broke my trust and jeopardized my privacy because they were concerned. Do you know what things Birdie has done to me in the duration of our friendship? Nothing! Yet I've had multiple panic attacks because of the things that my friends did out of concern. What they did was not okay.
Okay, this isn't really a complaint, but more of a question for clarification. Why did you break up with Nexima, saying that you're straight, from what I heard, and then create a relationship between one of your Sonos and Sayu from NSR? I really hope this doesn't come off in a mean way. I'm just confused and I want to make sure I'm not jumping to conclusions.
Okay, this might be too much information, so if you feel uncomfortable, you can go to this timestamp. But I broke up with Harper because I realized I was straight, and I knew I couldn't give them what they wanted, so I had to let them go. I definitely should have cut it off earlier than when I did. I still don't fully understand my sexuality. I think girls are pretty, they're more fun to draw than boys. I like the idea of snuggling with a girl, but I wouldn't sex a girl. Sayu isn't really someone I would date, they're more of a comfort character. That may be a little bit confusing since the bikini body meme exists, but that was mostly for funnies, and because I thought my transition was creative-ish. I don't know. Also, Sayu isn't real, so I find that point extra strange. I'm not sexually attracted to Sayu, I just think they're pretty, and I kinda want to give them a hug.
Birdie is doing this to you! No, stop it. We know Birdie could have molded her to some extent, but the slurs, the misgendering, the romanticization of rape, she did it all willingly. She chose to do it. Birdie is a horrible person. but hold her accountable too.
I agree with this comment, actually. My flaws are not Birdie's flaws. Birdie's flaws are not my flaws. You're allowed to be pissed at me, but at least be pissed about the things I did, please.
Since everybody seemed to address the fact that you shouldn't be friends with Birdie and other stuff, I'd also like to politely ask you and other people who do this to stop calling us snowflakes because we identify as non-binary. Nonetheless, I hope you get better, and you'll correct your mistakes, learn from them, and you won't repeat them ever again.
It wasn't coming from a place of intolerance. It was because I was uneducated on the subject matter. I had never really heard of being non-binary before. Gender identity was a very new concept when my video came out. I only had my family's view on it to go by, which was not great, and I realize that now. Please don't call me a transphobe for saying that when I was like literally 14 years old and had zero idea what I was talking about. Please do not confuse malicious intent with not having any idea what non-binary is.
I want you to talk about the stuff from Birdie, from what I've heard and seen. There's some toxic stuff out there floating around. I don't know what it is exactly. I don't know either if you've solved it already. It's fine if you don't want to talk about it. It's just that it confused me, and I want an answer. Maybe it's just me being too curious and being off topic. Also, how are you?
This comment is incredibly vague, so I'll try to keep this short. The business and personal relationships of Birdie are not for me to make public, and it would be incredibly rude of me to do so. Even if his actions are horrible, that's something that he and the people actually affected by it need to deal with amongst themselves, not to have his problems broadcast to complete strangers who are in no way involved. I'm talking to everyone not associated with him directly when I say that this is not your drama. You should not be so invested in something that does not involve you. Leaking his conversations is an extreme invasion of privacy. Really anyone's privacy. Please do not leak people's conversations when they are clearly vulnerable and angry and upset, because when people are vulnerable and angry, they say stupid things that they don't mean, especially taken out of context. It's not fair to them.
You're transphobic. Stop being transphobic.
As you wish, Fair Chillin'. I will cease my transphobia. Thank you.
Your transphobia. You are ignorant enough to misgender Snow and Charlie purposefully. You repeatedly called Snow a she and dead named Charlie. You really need to improve yourself. You have made transphobic jokes like, are you genderless or genderful? And called Snow a snowflake because they wanted to be referred to with they, them pronouns. You still haven't apologized despite this video being posted 3 years ago. Work on this. There's way more, but I don't want to type anymore. Off topic, you also sexualized Snow's OC by commenting on the chest and such.
I'm working on it in this video. I'll admit, the things I said about Charlie were a bit inappropriate and extremely disrespectful and hurtful, and I'm sorry I said those things about Charlie. I still don't like Charlie, but honestly, right now it should just stay as that. Me and Charlie can continue to not like each other and not talk to each other, and that's how I want it to be. I don't want to go after them because I want to move on from Charlie. I got all my negative feelings out of my system with the vents I made. Let me clarify though. I made vent art because I was angry, and I shared it with people I trusted. Those were only meant for my friends to see. I never wished Charlie any harm. Those vents were made in the heat of frustration as an extreme exaggeration of my emotions. I do not want and never wanted to hurt them in any way. I didn't want Charlie to see them. I didn't want to start anything, but now it's in the public and now it's something we both have to deal with. It's just annoying and unnecessary. Don't leak vents.
The way you treated Heimguts. They're a child, a literal child who came to you at a vulnerable state and you ignored them. Not to mention you romanticizing sexual assault. It was very wrong of you to ignore it. You're an adult now. It's immature for you not to only say that, but do these things and act like it never happened. Your audience are also children, and this is an example you give them.
I've seen you before, Grinch profile. Charlie isn't that much younger than me. I don't know why everyone uses their age as leverage against me. I'm not even an adult yet. I'm 17, and I was 16 when the drama started. I do not romanticize sexual assault. I just misunderstood the things I was saying when I said them. I don't think rape is cute. I just like feeling attractive.
It's obviously Birdie. He's doing a lot of stuff that is wrong, and you're okay with it. And doing the wrong things too. You liked Birdie when you were already dating. You made so much triggering things like gore vents while putting no trigger warning, doing sexual stuff, kidnapping AUs, and etc. This isn't you.
I don't support the bad things Birdie has done, and the most I've ever contributed was 2 spam comments on DA. That was a long time ago, and I haven't contributed to anything of that nature since then. I am sorry I let myself get talked into spamming people on DA. I won't allow myself to do that again.
Rape isn't okay. I'm saying this like a person who was raped and struggling through a lot of problems. I like that there's 1.4 comments, no one will blame me for that I decided to say private things. I don't think they're private anymore, in some places and discussions.
You're right. Rape isn't okay. It's never been okay. I'm sorry if the leaked convos of me talking about the subject seems like I was downplaying it. I do not condone rape.
Let's be real here. It's Birdie. That's the issue. You're obsessing over him and slowly turning into him. Sydney, I used to look up to you, and the last thing I want is for you turning into him. I don't know what happened, but you need to let him go. He's influencing you to be a bad person. I don't want to lose someone that has inspired me into toxicity and doxing. Please keep Birdie out of your life.
Birdie inspires me a lot. People definitely notice that through my art. While this has affected my past actions, I'm going to try my best not to let myself get coerced into doing something I know is wrong again. I'm smarter now. I have a big brain, and it's very wrinkly.
1. In the private DMs, we were shown that you were romanticizing toxic and abusive behavior from Birdie. Is there any missing context from these we haven't seen? Or did you truly mean this stuff? 2. Are you still supporting Birdie in his actions? If so, why? Sorry if these are vague, I haven't been engaging in this drama.
1. I have no idea what you're talking about. I would have appreciated a quote of what I said or something, because I have no memory of bringing up any abusive behavior in a positive manner. The only thing I can think of is maybe talking about his vent drawings. That might have involved questionable material, but other than that, I don't really know what you're referring to. 2. I supported Birdie because I care about him, but I do not support the things he's done. He's done some pretty whack things, but I believe anyone can change if they try.
Your lack of trigger warnings.
Again, I only recently began to understand what trigger warnings actually do for people. I plan to be more aware of the things I post in the future, and use proper warnings so I don't hurt the people watching me.
Sydney, if you do read this, I want to tell you something. I have borderline personality disorder, and you are carrying a lot of the symptoms, which, if you do have BPD, it's not a bad thing, but you will need treatment, or else you're gonna go under really badly, and I fear that you're somewhat halfway down. You need to remind yourself what exactly reality is, because right now you're kinda not 100% there, it seems. Leave your own head, please. With this, you also now are fetishizing events, dreams, and caricatures. This is going to hurt you badly. I've been in your shoes, Cindy. I know what it feels like, and I know exactly how you're thinking, so believe me when I say, you don't want him. You want the idea of him. You don't want that. You want the concept of that. And you most definitely do not want Nightmare Sans raping you. You want the meaning behind it. Live in the moment. Observe your surroundings. Tell yourself that you and the people around you are real people. Real. Everything happening is real. Never let that leave your head, or you're gonna end up apathetic, sadistic, and even disoriented, like I once have been. Please, please don't let anything or anyone else control you, or your life, because you're a real person, and don't ever forget that.
It scares me. I don't want to say I have a mental disorder because I've never been diagnosed by a professional. But a lot of people are suggesting I either have BPD or maladaptive daydreaming. I kinda see where they're coming from, but I can't say I have those things. I do struggle with dissociation from reality, and I do tend to spend a lot of time in vent world, but I can't say I have a disorder. I understand your concern. I'm seeing a therapist for the things I think about.
Not only is it Birdie, but it's also your transphobia. You don't use the right pronouns for people. In your whole Sans Fangirl series, you kept talking about a non-binary person's chest and crotch. Use the incorrect pronouns for them. You never even said sorry about it.
I apologize for it in this video, but it wasn't out when you wrote that, so it's not your fault for still feeling concerned. I've taken down that video because I don't want my commentary to hurt any more non-binary people, or inspire others to go harass them because of the stupid things I said. It was way too harmful to keep up.
Everything about you shipping yourself with Nightmare Sans. It's not bad in itself, but taking real traumatic experiences and making them ooh cute is gross, and it feels You're romanticizing all these traumas, kidnapping, abuse, forced marriages. None of that is cute, and I don't like seeing stuff of this AU making it look like it is. If that's not your intent, I'm sorry, but it really looks that way from my perspective.
I'm sorry to anyone I might have triggered or upset with my content related to Nightmare and Error. Honestly, the Nightmare AU is just a romantic fantasy. I didn't want to hurt people with it. I too suffer from trauma surrounding abusive relationships. My biological mother was in multiple abusive relationships. She was abusive toward my father, so I understand why someone who was abused would look at my art and feel like it downplays their experience. I've been screamed at about trigger warnings, and now I understand them a lot better. And if I post anything else related to the AU, I will leave a warning. This part is probably what saddens me most about this drama. My fans have been exposed to a side of me that I never intended to broadcast. My persona has shifted quite a bit over the course of my time on YouTube, but what I portray in my videos is far from how I am in real life. In reality, I've said stupid and offensive things to try and be funny. I hate confrontation, which includes fighting with people and watching people fight. I have a series of presumably unhealthy habits and thought patterns that have led to harmful relationships in the past. I have abandonment issues, which is why I'm so desperate for any sort of companionship and why I can't stand being alone. I have obsessive tendencies and I don't really know how to deal with them yet. What I'm trying to get at with this point is I'm a human that makes mistakes, and I'm tired of being treated like a monster. Like every action I make is an elaborate scheme to manipulate my audience. I don't like to think that I'm a bad person. I don't think anyone does. I deserve to be held responsible for the things I do wrong, but there are right and wrong ways to handle situations like this. Digging up dirt on people when you find out that they're in a controversy is not helping the community in any way. Spamming people's pages is not helpful. What is helpful is talking to the people involved, and I mean all parties. I know people have talked to Harper about this situation. I know people have talked to B, but no one's talked to me. Out of all the videos that were made about me, the people who leech off the words of drama channels as if it's gospel, out of all the people who've heard of this drama, only 2 people have talked to me about it. Only 2 people asked for my side of the situation, for my story. That's not good. You've only ever heard one side. And while I will admit, there was some merit to the things that Harper and B were saying about me, not all of it was true, and I'll go further into that in a second. But I really want you all to understand, there's never simply one story. People are bound to make mistakes, but their mistakes do not define who they are. That is all. I won't lie, I did some awful things while I was in a relationship with Harper. Things I regret. Things that Harper didn't deserve. I was a lot more irritable back when we were dating, and sometimes I took it out on them. I blamed them for things that they had no control over, sometimes things that were really my fault. I stayed with them out of fear of being alone when I knew I was straight, and that wasn't fair to them. I was not a good girlfriend to them. Our relationship was extremely unhealthy, and I recognize that now that I'm away from them. I'm truly sorry for the way I acted. There are a few things I would like to defend myself on, that they weren't truthful about. While watching some of the videos made about me, I found this screenshot of Harper lying about the context of something I said. Let me note that this was something I said, but I did not tell them I was going to commit neck rope over a picture of Sans. I was reacting angrily toward her threatening me with a trigger image. Let me explain. There is one image that I kept finding all over the internet that sent me into a panic state whenever I saw it. Once upon a time, I was in a call with Harper and I told them about the image and where they could find it, assuming they just wanted to see what the fuss was about. Upon hearing this, they went to look for it and immediately sent it to me in the chat, to which I immediately started sobbing and begging them to take it away. They took it down and apologized to me, and I forgave them. I knew they most likely didn't fully understand how bad it would have triggered me, so I gave them the benefit of the doubt. Even now, I still don't really see that particular experience as malicious. I truly just think at the time they didn't understand. Surely, after seeing firsthand how the image affected me, they wouldn't show it to me again. Harper threatened me with it while I was in the middle of apologizing to them for my simpery. Clearly you can see they deleted their side of the conversation, but I still have my side, begging them not to send it, getting tricked with a picture of Sans, getting extremely angry, but quickly calming down. Remember what I said about getting both sides of the story? Yeah, this is one of the reasons why. They also took some of my rape comments out of context. These two being the biggest examples often used against me. The context of this one being that I was telling Harper that I'd be bringing up the rape scenarios in therapy, and the other one being about something a little more TMI, so I'm not going into that one. I don't want you to think that Harper is a villain, because they're not. Even though I have a lot of feelings against them for what they did to me, I don't want people to think they are inherently a bad person. They could grow out of this behavior in the near future. They could have already grown out of it. But I wanted to bring this up because I don't like being lied about. This is just misinformation being spread faster than I can diffuse it. I rebranded my channel to Scootaloo Loves Sans when I was 13. I had my channel a long while before that. Scootaloo back then acted as my persona, so I projected myself onto her a lot. I made her 13 because I was 13, and I absolutely did not care about the fact that Sans was canonically an adult, nor did I bother to age him down. Reminder that I was 13, and this never came to me as a bad idea. When I turned 14, Scootaloo turned 14. When I turned 15, Scootaloo turned 18 with age-altering powers, and when I turned 16, Scootaloo became 47 with age-altering powers. And now I straight up don't use Scootaloo anymore. Sansaloo isn't a pedophile ship. Scootaloo is 47. Sans is probably in his 20s. They're both adults.